Today I want to share how to make a holly berry and holly leaf clip or headband using wet felting techniques. Welcome to the Textile Indie YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Brittany. Here on the Textile channel, we cover things like natural dyeing, basketry, spinning, and other fiber crafts. And right now we're doing a Vlogmas series where I'm sharing different tutorials in how to make a handcrafted holiday season. You can find a list of the tools and materials in the description below, so check there for all of the tools and materials you will need to complete this project. I have one little holly leaf here to show you and two of my holly berries. So this is what we will be creating. You can go through the process and make any number of these as you wish, depending on what type of look you're going for. I'm going to go for 2 holly leaves and 3 little holly berries, so I'll be showing you how to do those today. Right now I have this kind of burgundy red wool. This is a wet felting wool. You don't want to use superwash merino when you do this process. Superwash is prepared so that it won't felt, and we actually do want our wool to felt. So then I also have these 2 different colors of greens. For this holly leaf, I layered in the 2 different colors together to kind of create a mottled effect. If you want to go solid, you can. If you want to go whatever color, you can choose your color for your holly leaves. Let's start out by making a holly berry. So take some of your wool, and I'm going to take or untangle this a bit and take a bit that fits on the palm of my hand like this. And then on one end, I'll start rolling in the ends, folding from both sides to create a nice packed little bundle. And then take the tails and kind of fluff these over the end and hide the joints like so. So you end up with a little fluffy package. You'll be able to do adjustments to this as we work. So now I'm going to take it and get it wet in my bin of water, and using some olive oil soap, I'm going to rub this against the olive oil soap to get it nice and sudsy. I like olive oil soap when wet felting because it doesn't strip the wool of all of its natural oils, and it doesn't strip my hands of all their natural oils, so it's not quite as harsh as a Dawn detergent or other dish soap. So now I'm gently going to rub this or run this through my hands, just rolling it gently into a ball, and you'll need to work gently at first. We'll build up a little more pressure as we go, but gently at first because it's still fluffy and you need to work it for a few minutes before it starts to harden and create that wool ball shape. So then go in any areas that you have folded over section, just kind of fluff that out. Take a tuft and try to cover the seam that's happening with a little bit of a fluff, so we hide that seam with the felt or with the wool. Then I'll keep rolling. It's the other benefit of rolling gently at first is that you don't smush and create folds and dimples in it early on. It'll naturally felt from the inside out rather than from the outside in. You'll keep rolling like this between your hands as if you were making a dough ball, adding a little more pressure as you feel it start to stiffen and felt. And I guess I should know I'm using cool water right now because that's what's came out of the tap. You can start with warm water. You can do this right by the sink and run your hand under hot water if you want. But the felting does happen for this project, at least, in any temperature of water. Now I'm going to add a little bit more pressure between my hands. You can see this is starting to not be quite as fluffy. When it's fairly firm and dense, you'll want to run this under the sink and squeeze out all of the soap suds, and then you have a holly berry. You can make as many of these as you want and set those aside. We'll create or use these to create our clip. Next up, we have the holly leaf, like this guy here. This I did by drawing a holly leaf onto a piece of bubble wrap, and it's a fairly simple shape. If you are not comfortable with drawing a holly leaf, you can always look online for a holly leaf graphic, print that off, and then use that under your bubble wrap and use a Sharpie to draw the design onto your bubble wrap. Here I've used a size that's about twice as big as my finished piece. the felt does shrink down quite a bit. So this shape here is actually this same leaf. It just shrunk down quite a bit, as you can see. So using this design, now I'm going to come in with my wool, fluff open my wool so I can find the ends. Like so, and then pulling off little tufts, I'm going to start laying these vertically along the length of the leaf, kind of filling in layer upon layer, filling in this space. And I'll bring a piece to come up to the tip here. A little bit of overlap on the edges is fine. We'll come in and fold that over. And then I'll come in and going in the opposite direction, I'm going to fill in laying wool in the horizontal direction, layering on top and trying to fill out to these points on the side. And again, I have bits hanging over the edge of my design. The design is there so that as we start to felt, we can fold those sides in and start to create the shape we want. We'll just need to start filling in that shape with the wool by overlapping a bit to get the amount of wool in place that we need. Then I'm going to switch colors and go again opposite direction, so this time vertically. Then horizontally over that. So we're making quite a little stack of wool here. And now grab a towel and place your towel under your bubble wrap because we're going to use quite a bit of water. This is going to splash off, so your towel is going to get quite damp. And I am using this little wet felting sprinkler. You can use a spray bottle like this guy here to get your piece damp. You could also sprinkle water on with your hand or with a small cup. So then you'll sprinkle water on top of the wool to get it nice and damp. And wool takes quite a lot of water before it starts to stay moist, so you may need to add quite a bit. Spray it down and then you can let it sit for a minute. While we do that, I'm going to grab my soap block, wherever I put that. Grab my soap block, dip it in some water, and then rub the side of the bubble wrap so that I have some soap suds to work with when I'm ready to start on this piece. Get a good lather going on the sides there. Now you can press into the leaf, or right now just your pile of wool. Press into it, kind of rub your hands on the soap suds that you've just created and dab that onto your piece. And you will be able to tell that your wool has absorbed the water if you pat it down and you can feel that it's like a sponge. It's nice and wet all the way through. There's no like puffiness to it. Once you've smushed that down, come in with your soap and just rub gently on the surface to add a little bit more soap suds to your piece without moving the wool around too much. And then I'm going to come in and fold these edges over to match the curve of my little drawing that's underneath here. Like so. And fold in the tips. Make sure you catch all those little hairs off the tips. So if I lifted this up and moved it aside, you could see my leaf shape is almost exactly the same as my little pattern. So I can put that back on like so. And now I'm going to get this side of the bubble wrap wet, rub some more soap on that side, and then fold this in half right over top of my leaf and start to rub on the surface. Now what I forgot to mention earlier is that this is bubble side up to start out with. So you're laying the wool out on the bubble side of the bubble wrap. And now you're rubbing the surface And you're rubbing the top, but because there's bubbles on both sides, you're actually causing some felting to both sides of the fabric. So you'll rotate around in one direction and then switch directions, rotating around in the other direction. And then you can come in with your fingertips and move around the shape more firmly. Then open this up. We'll flip this over just to be able to focus on each side. You can make adjustments to your shape if you want. Rub from this side. Now fill up your spray bottle or your sprinkler with hot water. And we're going to use hot water and a bucket of cold water to eventually start to shock this into felting even more. I'm going to start by sprinkling hot water onto this and doing about a minute of rubbing with the warm water. And then open it up, stick it into your cold water bin, swish it around a bit gently. It's felted a little bit, but not completely yet. And then you'll drain that off, lay it on your work surface, rub this down for a minute. Okay, and then you can take off some of the soap suds if you have too many. Lay out your piece and now put on hot water again. Get it nice and damp. And then I'm going to roll this up from one end to the other and do a little roll back and forth, rotate, roll back and forth, rotate around for about a minute in this direction, and then we'll do the same thing in the other direction for a minute. Open it up, rotate the leaf, fold it up, and we'll do the same thing in this direction. Now you can pull on the sides, kind of straighten out your shape a little bit. And now you want a bowl of hot water and a bowl of cold water. So I have a tub of hot water and a tub of cold water here. I'm going to take my leaf and rub some soap on it to get it sudsy again. And now again, this is much easier to do if you're right next to a sink, but you can do this at a work table. So I'm going to put it in the hot water and then roll it up like we did with that berry, the wool ball. I'm rolling it kind of into mostly just a glob in my hand, but kind of trying to get it into a round shape to help it to felt. So I'm just rolling it around like so. I'll rinse off a little bit and then dunk it in the cold water. Roll it around in my hands again. Open it up every once in a while to make sure you're headed in the right direction and to pull on the points to kind of solidify that shape. Put it in the hot water again. And now what we're doing is shrinking the felt. So we're rolling it like this to get it to felt even more and shrink down to the size that you want. So this is tangling the fibers even more to make sure that it's nice and thick felt. And as you work it, you'll be able to roll even tighter between your hands like we did with the wool ball, and that will cause even more felting. So already you can see my leaf has shrunk quite a bit from that initial size. Maybe one or two more rolls and then I'll shape it. Okay, so this felt feels pretty firm. I'm going to rinse it off in the hot water here, try to get most of the soap suds out. And then put it on my surface. I'm going to come in and pull on the points to just accentuate them. And then I'm going to fold this in half and just start to create a little vein by pinching and folding and pulling a little bit on the ends to create a natural vein right down the center. And this creases it, and then once it's dry, that crease will be built into the felt and you'll have a 3D holly leaf like so. So you can see I have a little hint of a channel down the center. I've got the holly leaf shape. Now if I pull my original holly leaf over, here's my original, the holly leaf that I started with. So now if I take my 3 holly berries, like so, there is my little holly bundle. Or I could do it this way, like so. Now you can hot glue this onto a clip or a headband, or use wire or string and a needle to thread this on, tie it on. Allow your pieces to fully dry before you do that so you're not working with wet wool. Dry these out in a nice warm area for about a day, and then you can attach them to your clip. Another way you can use these is to use a little metal hoop wreath, and you can attach this in whichever way you find attractive. Again, using hot glue or wiring it on, doing something like this. You can have it hang off to the side. You could do 3 leaves and pile the berries on like that and have a 3rd leaf come off like this. There's lots of ways you could use your holly berries as an accent. And that is how to wet felt holly berries and holly leaves. You can use these on a lot of different projects like I was showing. You can use basket reed to create a twisted wreath and attach the felted pieces to that. You could use metal pieces. You can use little alligator clips or hair clips. You could attach this to a plastic headband for a little holiday accessory. There's lots of ways to use it. I hope you enjoy making these. Have fun, and I will see you in the next video. Happy making. Bye.